He is our culture blaster. You can find him in all the different places across social media as the culture blaster. He writes the coastal commuter column for the Marina Times. Used to be a regular at on Polk Street, that what was it, Royal Grounds. I don't know if they're open or what the story is. We'll get an update. But he reports for us on all things entertainment. Is Michael Snyder. Hi, Michael.
Hey, come on now. I'm still a regular. They don't have seating inside, but the Royal Ground fuels my brain on a regular basis with their coffee. The idea of living next to your parents, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that new documentary on Netflix, Fear City. That's what it reminds me of. I don't know about living that close to mom and dad, but I know you liked Fear City, New York versus the Mafia.
I absolutely love that series. Yeah, it's 3 parts. I talked to the KGO audience about it, I think, on Monday when I was watching it. And it's riveting.
Loved it. We have a bunch of films for your delectation. Shall we proceed?
Go to it. Yeah, get into it.
All right. Liam Neeson, dramatic actor and action hero, Mr. I have a certain set of skills himself, shows that one of his skills is in lightweight family dramedy with this father-son travelogue made in Italy. This is one of those movies built as feel-good escapism, wherein an estranged parent and their offspring find common ground under stress, or in this case, while reuniting to travel to the beautiful Tuscan countryside to sell the family's one-time home that's fallen into disrepair since the mother of the family died when the boy was young, etc. So you got Neeson playing Robert, self-centered bohemian artist who sucked at being a single dad, and who better to play his son, Jack, than his real-life son, Michael Richardson. And, there's a good chemistry there. Hell, they're father and son in real life as they try to repair the house and attempt to sell it so Jack can buy full ownership of his London art gallery from his soon-to-be ex-wife. The big question is whether or not they're going to repair their relationship. And you can probably guess the answer, as well as guess if Jack will win the heart of the attractive, self-sufficient single mom who owns everyone's favorite restaurant in the picturesque little local village. Made in Italy is a well-meaning trifle, obvious, never really earns its sentimental moments, and it's not as glorious as some other more romantic movies set in Tuscany. But if you ever wanted to see Liam Neeson in an exotic locale when he wasn't killing spies or mobsters, this is your chance. Available on Amazon Prime, Vudu, YouTube, etc. Okay.
So it's a family. You're saying that's family, kind of lukewarm on it, is what you? It sounds like you. Yeah. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Keeping in the lukewarm realm, only much gorier, The Tax Collector. So writer-director David Ayer is at the helm of this modern L.A. crime drama, The Tax Collector. I thought it might be a return to form for the guy whose recent try at a DC superhero fest, Suicide Squad, was a mess. Ayer's other work has included great stuff, great and gritty cops and criminal stuff, and it might include his best work, which is End of Watch, which is an L.A. police drama that he wrote and directed. This guy also wrote Training Day and the first installment of Fast and Furious, but The Tax Collector is a much lesser work about a couple of tough guys, David, a Latinx family man, and Creeper, his loose cannon partner, who are tasked with collecting a cut of the profits from local gangs for one of those boss of all bosses known only as Wizard. But a deadly and crazy rival crime lord returns to the U.S. from Mexico. He wants to take over the entire operation. Everyone's jeopardized. Actually, the majority of the criminals, including David, the central character, are Mexican-Americans. And with that in mind, comedian George Lopez is cast in a small, significant role.
Wow. So he plays George Lopez takes – I'm sorry, you go. He plays a mid-level what?
A gang captain, and he's quite good. There's been a bit of confusion about the casting of Shia LaBeouf as Creeper. He's very effective, but you're never sure if he's doing brown face or if the guy is supposed to be a wannabe cholo. In any case, David wants to protect his family. I mean, the actor who plays David, Bobby Soto, very good. But, this plays out in bloody and perfunctory cliched style. The Tax Collector, again, not the greatest thing on earth. Look, I'm not the biggest Seth Rogen fan in the world. I always like him better as part of an ensemble in a well-written comedy. So the idea of him headlining a movie with a dual role isn't something that's going to make me too excited. In the somewhat comic An American Pickle, available on HBO Max, Rogan plays an Eastern European immigrant, Herschel Greenbaum, a poor Jewish laborer, falls into a vat of pickles in 1919, is brined and preserved for 100 years, and revived in modern-day Brooklyn. And he also plays Herschel's great-grandson, Ben, a struggling app developer with a so far unrealized dream of success. And so, right,
so it's Hot Tub Time Machine meets a pickle brining place.
I know it's a double dose of Rogan is what it is, in a strange time-traveling Jewish fish out of water tale. So is it a Rogaine? Well, it depends on how much you like the guy. It isn't terrible, and there are massive plot holes and contrivances and massive suspensions of disbelief. But there are some amusing.
Wait a minute.
Moments.
There's a bigger suspension of disbelief and contrivance than he falls into a pickle barrel and is brined and comes back 100 years later. There's actually a bigger leap than that.
Yes, there is. I won't even go where. I'm not going to go there.
This is their new hoax.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, listen. I got to say, Rogan is surprisingly heartfelt and believable as this guileless, politically incorrect relic of a bygone era, trying to cope with, he's lost his wife, in a world he understood. He has to acclimate to the 21st century. And as Ben, he's like a more naturalistic version of the generically broad stoner character this guy's been playing for years. And that's kind of refreshing. If you have a subscription as HBO Max and you like Rogan, this is diverting enough with a few laughs along the way. What can I tell you? I preferred Knocked Up and the apocalyptic ensemble comedy. This is the end. All right, let's. I do want to quickly get to my favorite of these films, Red Penguins. This is an insanely entertaining and occasionally jaw-dropping documentary that's filled with interviews and archival footage, and it's the true story about that time in the late 80s and early 90s when the Soviet Union had collapsed and the owners of the NHL powerhouse Pittsburgh Penguins decided they were going to invest in the remnants of the Soviet hockey powerhouse, the Red Army team, which had fallen on hard times as star players were defecting to the West. So the Pittsburgh owners wanted to salvage the Red Army team, rebrand them as the Russian Penguins, and use the club as sort of a farm team to feed its best players to the Penguins in Pittsburgh. Now, this seems like a crazy but brilliant idea, and they bring in a brash American marketing whiz named Steve Warshaw. So he goes over there to team with the government-appointed Russian management and hockey coaches and merchandises the hell out of the team, and it's working. Even like Michael Eisner, who was then the head of Disney, wanted a piece of the Russian Penguin action, but neither the Pittsburgh investors nor Warshaw was ready for this new Russian brand of frontier capitalism and all the widespread corruption and criminality overseen by the rise of these ruthless oligarchs. Hey, this is some amazing stuff and thoroughly entertaining. Red Penguins was written and directed by Gabe Polsky. It's a blast. Available on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Google Play, Vudu, Fandango Now, etc.
Wow. Okay. Red Penguins is your pick really for the week.
Yeah, it's the best of the films I mentioned. There's a really nice kind of British like light comedy that the Brits are so good at called Fisherman's Friends, which you can also get on Amazon Prime, Vudu, and YouTube. That's also pretty nice. Those two movies. Fisherman's Friends is actually based on a true story about a bunch of sea chanty singing locals in Cornwall who get a record deal, and the record becomes the most popular traditional record album in British recording history. It's a true story, but they kind of puffed it up with like romance and
all that stuff that
conflict.
girls like. Yeah.
Well,
and conflict.
You've seen those movies like the Full Monty. It's that kind of British underdogs, weird, and you do get the lovely Tuppence Middleton playing this adorable woman, single mom in Cornwall. And Tuppence Middleton's name alone means you should watch this movie.
Yes, I agree. Watch just for the name. I agree. It's again to review. Made in Italy. Didn't love it. Tax Collector. Didn't love it. An American Pickle, that's the Seth Rogen, falls in a pickle, gets brined, didn't love it. Fisherman's Friends, you kind of liked it. And that's the kind of light British thing that you were just mentioning. And then Red Penguins, you really like much more than any of the others I just mentioned. And
True that.
Very good crew. And, of course, we love Fear City, which is the Netflix doc series. It's only 3 episodes, but it's really revealing. I recommend that.
Tremendous stuff. How the FBI took down the mafia in New York City in the 80s.
And it'll recall what Rudy Giuliani used to be before he completely became unhinged.
Wow, yeah.
Michael Snyder, love visiting with you on Fridays. He is the Coastal Commuter in the Marina Times, and you can reach him on Twitter and all the other places at Culture Blaster. Thank you, Michael.
You bet.